It is 7:03 and we'll get underway. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to tonight's meeting of the Oakland Mills Community Association. To get things started to open the meeting, we need to take care of two pieces of business. The first is to approve the minutes from the May 25th, 2021 board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay,
So
Ginny
moved.
makes the motion. Bill makes a second.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion of those minutes? Okay, all in favor of approving? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rebecca, do you have a hand somewhere in there?
Yep.
Okay, 600. All right. Next up is approval of tonight's agenda. Before we do that, I'd like to request that we approve it with two changes. One is sort of a clerical change. In our new business, it says OMCA priority. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That is, I read something wrong. Never mind. One change. One change. Ginny has another important commitment this evening and asked if we could move her up in the agenda so that she can leave us a little bit earlier. Ginny, did you want to try to slot between the new business and the old business so you can be here for the introduction and the discussion about the Columbia board?
Okay.
Or wherever you think it would work. I just want to make sure you can be here for the parts you want to participate in, and then we can let you go.
I'm trying to get out of here by 7:30, the latest if possible. Guys, I apologize, but we have family visiting from California and Minnesota and then blah, blah, blah. And I'd like to just be with them. And besides that, I got the crab cakes that I have to fry. They're in the refrigerator that I want to make for them. So I don't want a meeting at 9:30, 10 o'clock.
Yes. Let's do this because this should work for 7:30, and this way we're not tying up the police department in a meeting. If it's okay, I'm going to make a motion to approve tonight's agenda with an alteration, and that is that we do the Columbia Association representatives report after the introduction of the Oakland Mills Community Police Officer, and then resume new business with the priority topics for the Columbia Association Board.
Thank you.
All right. Is there a second to that?
A second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, that is 600. All right. First thing, as always, we have a resident remarks. If we have any residents in the audience who would like to make remarks, you have up to 3 minutes. And if you could use the hand raise feature in Zoom or turn on your video and raise your hand, I will recognize you in the order the hands go up in Zoom or in the order I see you if you're using video. Anyone for resident remarks? Okay, I see the Pattersons. Anyone else? All right. Pattersons, if you could unmute, you have 3 minutes.
Hi, I just wanted to say we are back in the area and plan to be at many of the board meetings moving forward. Now the military is all fit to bring us back to Maryland. One thing that Patrick and I have been discussing recently was upcoming is 4th of July, which is a really big time. I don't know if they're going to do the fireworks down over in Columbia Town Center. They are, which is awesome. I think this is a really great opportunity to bring people over to Oakland Mills as well, and doing some incremental things such as like parking was a really big deal for us one year when we lived in Columbia Town Center. We were locked out of our apartment for over an hour after the fireworks ended, even though we lived in the apartment Columbia Town Center, just because of parking and traffic. And so one thing that we could try to do is say, hey, if you don't want to wait in that horrific traffic, come on over, check out our super really cool international grocery store that's over here, mosey on a little bit. We've got a Dunkin' Donuts. We also have Pizza Man, which has super great food, way more than pizza. And you can have a nice meal with your family and then walk across the Columbia Bridge to then go over to Columbia Town Center.
And there's a bike share there. So
and there's a bike share, so people can also do the bike share. And so with that, it may end up enticing people to come travel over to our direction where they normally wouldn't, since we're not like directly off the main thoroughfare. And then also, you know, this is an opportunity for Althea's food truck to be in the parking lot at that time. And if there are any other food trucks, I know she's kind of like the main one, but if there's any others, that would be super great time for them, and just kind of make Oakland Mills a side destination to the fireworks, and then it will maybe want to bring people back. So that was something, I know it's kind of last minute late, but something that we've been talking about. Okay, I think we're past our 3 minutes.
Can I respond?
You're not, you did that in 2 minutes, and welcome back. Go ahead, Sandy.
I just think that's great. And hi, welcome back. We'll do our best to promote it. And Ashley's here from Councilman Jones' office, and they send a newsletter out. And I can also talk to the downtown folks and the county executive's office and ask them to do the same and publicize our center and the bridge. So thank you.
Yeah, let me see if while CA is publicizing it, they can also do
Yeah, I
It's a
can talk to
cooperative,
Danica.
actually down at the lakefront, our CEO, President Lucky Boyd announced this, that it will be due in the July 4th with Calvin Ball, because they have to get permission to use CA land. So, but I think there was something about you shouldn't put your blankets down till 3 p.m. or something that Calvin wanted.
Right.
So there's some conditions. It should be interesting to see how they get enforced.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I think if you put your blanket down before 3, they're just going to come throw it in the lake.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. And we got to dredge the lake. Thank you, Jonathan.
But that's all the more
Throw
reason.
you in after the blanket to get it.
But that's
thank
all
you.
the more- That's all the more reason for people to come to Oakland Mills before the fireworks, right?
Exactly.
Put your blanket down until 3.
Right. Good point.
I think it's a great idea. And while we're talking about how the county could help, Ashley, you know, my other thing with all these people now flooding into that new playground and bocce court and croquet court at Blandair, it sure would be nice if they knew the Village Center was right around the corner where they could get some, you know, cold beverages at LA Mart, or maybe grab lunch or something like that, instead of just heading back out to 175 and over to Dobbin Road.
Yep.
But I'll just throw that in there as a little corollary to the 4th of July thing, because I can't help myself.
Subtle as a brick wall. Okay.
Exactly.
And
Well,
actually,
welcome back. It's great to see you back. I noticed that you've been at a couple of meetings, and I thought, well, they're still interested from afar.
yes.
Yeah, we were, the last meeting we attended, we were from afar. We're actually still, we're packing actually to move down here. So I was like, oh, let's figure out what's going on so we can jump back in.
Yeah.
It's great to see you.
Great. All right, we're going to move on to new business. And I am very happy to, I guess what I'm doing is introducing the introduction to our new community police officer. Sergeant Pullman, would you like to take it away?
Sure. So I think most of you know me. I'm Sergeant Pullman. For those of you who haven't met, nice to meet you all. As you know, unfortunately, Corporal Lopez has left Oakland Mills. But with that, we have a wonderful replacement, an Officer DeBronzo. He has a ton of experience. He's a great officer, and I'll let him tell you a little bit more about himself. Officer DeBronzo?
Yes, thank you for having me, everybody. Really, thank you for the invite. I'm Officer DeBronzo, been a police officer for 12 years, 4 years in Howard County. Prior to this, I was a police officer in Baltimore City. I've worked in the Oakland Mills area. When I started my career in Howard County, it's great to be back in it. It's been awesome so far. We're in a really, really good unit. We have good supervision. Not just saying that because my sergeant's here, but really, it's a good unit. A lot of good things going on with it. One of the things I did want to tell you guys is about our website. The Howard County Police website has been redone. There's a lot of good things that you can find on it as far as up-to-date crime maps. My information's on there if any of you need to reach out to me. I'm under the outreach division for Oakland Mills. Please email, call. I'll be in the neighborhood. I'll come to check on you guys whenever I get the chance, but please reach out. I am part of your community, and I really want to know what's going on and continue that relationship.
And so like I said, obviously Corporal Lopez, he's he's been reassigned to North Laurel, so he's still with the team. He's just not going to be in Oakland Mills. And as many of you know, we work as a team very often. So you'll continue to see myself and Corporal Lopez. It's just Officer DeBronzo will be your primary point of contact.
Are there days of the week or nights that you have scheduled that you're in Oakland Mills?
Yes, ma'am. So typically our Tuesday, which is today, obviously, we'll do a day work and that we'll do 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Obviously, I adjusted a little bit to work with you guys, and that's something that my sergeant understands. You know, we have needs of the community, so, you know, we can do a schedule adjustment. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday we work, and that will be an evening shift. That's a 1 p to 11 p. Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely.
So as always,
Now,
we're
I
here
have
to
another question. What's the best way if residents want to reach you? Is it your email?
Yes, email. And again, if anyone who wants to contact me, the best way to reach out is just go on to the county's website for the police. And if you look under outreach, the community resource officers, my information's on there. My email's on there as well as a phone number. But, you know, I might be walking around the neighborhood. I might be doing different things, but I'll always have my phone on me and I'll always have access to email. So that's why I say email me, because I'm usually not at my desk. We're usually out in the community.
Officer DeBronzo, do you mind just typing in your email into the chat box here so everyone has it?
I'll do my best.
There is no chat box.
We'll put
Oh,
it,
there is not?
Yeah, we'll put it out.
yep, we'll put it
Okay.
out. I've sent it
Okay.
to the board already.
Okay.
I want to introduce you to Rena. Rena, say hi. You might have met already.
Yeah,
Have-
we.
Is that Miss? Yeah, Miss.
Yeah, we
Rita.
already met, and I left a voicemail today with you.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
And Rena's also, besides every other hat she wears, she's the chair of our board safety and security committee.
All right. Yeah, I met Miss Rena twice already. I think we've run into each other.
Yeah.
This person I'll be seeing more. Miss you
Yeah.
too. You get that TV show, like I said, you let me
Right,
know.
right.
Well, thank you.
Mhm.
Oh, Jonathan, I know you mentioned the abandoned vehicles. While you have us here, any pressing issues anyone at all would like to bring up?
There was, I just read there was like a purse snatching right on Robert Oliver Place where our office is. So like if there's anything that's really, really close to home that we can know about or that might, you know, put us at ease if we see something happen, but it's been resolved, if you shoot me an email.
Mhm.
You know, I know there's a lot that you can't tell us, but when things are happening in and around the community, sometimes we're not the first to know, not that we have to be, but if you just keep in touch with things, that's always helpful.
We'll always keep in touch. Absolutely. Whenever you guys need to reach out, please, no matter how small it is, like really, that's what we're here for. But as I previously said, the county redid the police's website, and there's a lot of really good information up there that wasn't there before. So if you guys go on and check it out, it really has a lot of more up-to-date things that are available. Also keep an eye on like our social media, because it'll tell about, you know, the crime trends and what's going on in our area.
So also real quick, National Night Out, if you don't know, will be August the 3rd. National Night Out, August the 3rd. It's a Tuesday. So of course we'll be out then in Oakland Mills and all the communities that night, just to give you a heads up. And then Sandy, I'm sorry, tell me, I don't know if Officer DeBronzo was on before. Tell me the name, you said Tree.
Oh, that's my street.
Yes,
Tree
for the
Frog.
couple cars there, we're gonna look in to see what's going on.
Tree
Frog.
Frog.
Officer
Now you
DeBronzo.
all know there's been police activity on my street tonight.
That's long reach.
Yeah, it's in Long Reach, you know.
Oh, right. Well, we'll figure it out anyway for you.
Yeah,
We have a
absolutely.
new officer. We have a new officer there. We actually have, I should have mentioned, we have a lot of turnover in the unit right now. So we have 4 new officers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, new officer in Long Reach, new officer in Owen Brown, and new officer in Wild Lake. So all wonderful officers though, so we're not going to skip a beat, but
Okay, thanks.
yep.
Any-
Anything else for us?
Yeah.
Just, I know this has been a topic in the past. I mean, you know, overall, traffic issues, speeding, not obeying signs, that sort of thing. But specifically, I know Warren and others have been focused on a stretch of Stevens Forest Road, basically from Kilimanjaro north to the end, where, the no right on red at Kilimanjaro onto Stevens Forest is more of a suggestion than a rule, and the four-way stop at Camelback and Santiago is more of a suggestion than a rule, and yielding to pedestrians in the crosswalks is more of a suggestion than a rule, as is the 30-mile-per-hour speed limit. So, I don't know what it would take maybe to, up enforcement for a little while to remind people that maybe they need to be more careful, but it's pretty bad at times. My wife and I were out for a walk the other night, and a couple of cars just went basically racing up Stevens Forest. Right through that four-way stop, probably at about 45, 50 miles an hour. That's not the norm, but the norm is for a lot of people not to be stopping and yielding and doing all those things they're supposed to do to keep, bicyclists, pedestrians, and other cars safe.
So it's something, yeah, we can certainly look into, when we're not tied up with other things, myself and Officer Bronzo and some of the other community officers can sit out there on Stevens Forest and kind of keep an eye on the intersection and such. If it's a constant issue of maybe if you're able to get a tag or a particular vehicle or whatever, then that would be helpful. We could potentially go to the person's residence and talk to them about it if it's an ongoing issue between, a certain number of cars. And we can also put an email out to our patrol officers who work that area to have them increase their area checks and have them increase their enforcement efforts on those particular areas.
Okay, thank you. Oh, looks like the Pattersons have a question.
Sure. So the last time that we were here, there was a bike share at Sandberg Park South End. Soccer field. I understand that those bikes were, I think they were pulled up because of vandalism and other concerns with those bikes over there. I'm curious if that location can be re-explored with the folks that are providing that. I know that you folks don't necessarily control the deployment of bikes or the bike share there, but could that discussion be reopened?
I had a little trouble hearing the
Yeah, I
beginning
couldn't hear that
what you were
well.
asking.
I think it was about theft at the
You
bus
should be able
share.
to hear me now.
There you go.
Sound like you're underwater or something.
Sorry, we have a Bluetooth speaker. It's
No.
acting up.
It's okay.
No problem.
Okay. Yeah, so the last time we were here, there was a bike share on I think it's the south end or wherever the soccer fields are in Blandare Park. I understand that particular station had a lot of vandalism that was happening with it. Therefore, the company pulled it up and pulled it out completely. I'm curious if that discussion can be reopened with that company via you folks, the community outreach end of our, I guess our outreach. Sorry.
Outreach.
Oh, no, yeah, you got it. Yeah, you're right.
Got
You're
it.
out.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed being able to ride from the Village Center over to the park and vice versa. And we don't really have that opportunity anymore. We have to go way over to the side of the baseball fields, which in itself would be nice to have a bike to do so. But anyway, I just want to see if that opportunity can be, if that discussion can be reopened.
So I'm sorry, were there two bike share locations in Blandare, or because there is still one?
Yeah, there was two. The other one was right next to the playground where the kids play. Like there's still the main one where the baseball fields are, or not the main one. There's still another one where the baseball fields are, but there was a bike share station on, I guess, our side or where the soccer fields and the playground was. I spoke to one of the mechanics there, or the guy that used to rebalance the bikes along the stations, and he said that they had a lot of of the motorized bikes that vandalized there. They were just having all sorts of issues with that particular location. And I'm not sure if the vandalism as a whole has gone down, but with that station being so close to our neighborhood, I'm curious if we can reopen that discussion. And if so, what could that look like?
So as far as vandalism, I'm looking at all the calls for service in Oakland Mills going back to May 15th. We don't have anything regarding vandalism of bicycles or vandalism in Glendale Park.
That's interesting.
Interesting.
Right. As far as them setting up the share, that's something you might have to speak to the association about. But we haven't had any incidents, at least going back to May 15th,
Okay.
regarding any of it.
Okay, then maybe I'll reach out to them and I'll email you.
Yeah.
That way, maybe get a dialogue started.
Yeah, and if you need any further, information about, crime in the area, reach out to me. I can provide you whatever you guys need.
Perfect. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, Ashley, since that's more of a Howard County initiative, would you be able to look into what happened with that second location?
Yes, I can definitely do that for you all.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, the bike share is really going to be out of our control. You'll probably get further if you contact them yourselves. We can't really leverage them to make another location for bike share. That's out of our control, unfortunately.
Yeah, certainly. It never helps. It always helps to have someone by our side, though.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Are there any other, Bill?
Real quick, officers, thanks so much for being here. Officer DeBronzo, welcome aboard. And I just went to the police website, checked it out, found your contact information very easily and already downloaded it. So it works fairly easy. If I can do it, it works very easy. Thank you so much.
I told you it was an improvement. It was good. It works.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Welcome. Very nice to meet you. All right, last chance. Anything else for our new officer and Sergeant Pullman? All right, well, Officer DeBronzo, we look forward to getting to know you.
Thank you.
Anytime you want to pop in and update us on anything, just let Sandy know and we'll get you on an agenda and be happy to chat with you.
Absolutely.
And you're in great hands with Rena as well.
Oh yeah, she's great. I'll probably come here tomorrow.
All right.
Nice to see you all. Thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye-bye now.
Take care.
All right, Ginny, it's 7:26.
Thank you, Jonathan, and thanks everybody. A couple of quick things, and I'm glad Ashley's on the link for tonight. One thing that the board might be interested in following is Council Bill 52. Now, it was filed, but I believe it's been withdrawn. The sponsor was Councilmember Jones, but also Rigby. CA became very concerned about it just in the last couple of days. And we asked Lakey to talk with Councilmember Jones, and he and she spoke, and he said he would withdraw it. He did not realize that there could be some very negative ramifications for both CA in terms of how we function with covenants and other homeowner issues, and also with the village boards. I know Town Center Village Manager wrote something to us. They were very concerned. So I think it's something, it's been withdrawn. Ashley, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if it hasn't. And the game plan basically is that Lakey will be getting together with Councilmember Jones. And I suggested she also get together with the other co-sponsor, Councilmember Rigby, to just understand better what is the intent. It was supposed to be, as I understood it, to help small homeowners associations that really had no recourse for getting issues resolved. But as with some things, you maybe try and help one group. And it was to set up a commission on common ownership but it just would make it extremely difficult for us to enforce covenants, et cetera. So if you don't have a copy of that bill, if perhaps Ashley can get one to Sandy and then send it to the village board, that would be good. You can look at it, and then we will be working, CA will be working with the council's members to just see how we can work out something that, frankly, what we want to do is be excluded. We do this a lot in Annapolis. There's homeowner bills, right, left, and sideways, quite frankly, HOA bills. And we wind up having to ask for exemptions, just exclude us. We're a different animal, et cetera. So I think you may want to think about the same thing, or maybe you see a benefit to being included. So far, we haven't, but we'd like to work with you on this. So that's, and I don't know, Ashley, is it correct that it's been withdrawn?
So at this time, Councilmember Jones did not introduce the bill. It was pre-filed, but it was just not introduced formally.
Okay.
And there was the conversation with the CA president. So they are going to continue having those conversations as well as with other community members. Thank you to those that, we've spoken with, to just make sure that it can be as inclusive, but also making sure that it does reach the intended audience.
Great, great. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm hoping we can work together on that and not have any problems. And I think we can. Okay, the other issue is the budget. As you know, we're trying to really work on how we can have as open and transparent a process as possible. I think there may be a benefit to doing a survey of individuals as families as to certain issues and what services they use, what they like, what they don't like. So because we keep using the survey that was quite a couple of years old, I'd like to see a more current one. And we are surveying people now with a short surveys every time they use the club. But I'd like to see something that we can then look at in terms of some more guidance. We are trying to develop how we would go about virtual town halls or actual town halls as now. CA board is meeting in person and also providing the virtual if a board member can't make it or doesn't feel comfortable making it. But for the most part, 80% of our board is willing to come down with the social distancing and meet in headquarters. We're not expecting the residents to do that at this point. They can get on and give a resident testimony. So we'll be working on how to get more and more input for the budget. One of the things that's coming up is the pools. As you know, I sponsored a resolution at the end of the last budget that if there's any chance that we get any money, we should look at it would go towards opening some additional outdoor pools. Well, with the Havens, CA, Howard Hughes signed off on this, and our realtor managed to secure a sublease with, I don't know, Lynn, you're more of an expert in this than I am, but it's called, I think, the Pearl in Fulton.
No, they're in
Maple Lawn.
Maple Lawn.
Well, Maple Lawn. Okay, Maple Lawn is sometimes okay. And there's a lot of enthusiasm about that organization from what I'm hearing. And Rebecca's shaking her saying
Yeah, they're relocating. They're not just opening a branch at the Haven. They're relocating. So that's good news, because if they were just sort of an outlet for their other location, it wouldn't be as advantageous for us.
Yeah. And
no, it's a really quality organization.
That's what I've been hearing. So that could be very good. And also, if you look at it from pure financial, that will save CA significant funding over the entire 5 years that's remaining on the contract. Could be close to 50%. Which since there's no money coming in, could be very significant. So what we're trying to work on is the pools are supposed to be one of the areas where that money would go. And also we're still waiting to hear from the county as to whether any of the 63 million that the county is receiving can be used for Um, Outdoor pools, we're hearing that maybe not, maybe they don't think it can be, but there are a whole list of other things which I read to you a month ago or a month and a half ago. So if we could get some of those other things approved, then would that free up some money that we can then use? In the meantime, Dan Burns sent us an email, and we'll be talking about a memo, and we'll be talking about this more on June 10th, Thursday night, that he feels they have sufficient money to open 2 pools. They are very concerned, though, about staffing. In fact, we understand Roger Carter Center is closing their pool at certain times because of a shortage of lifeguards. We also have been getting calls from Six Flags, keeps calling us asking for lifeguards. Hello. They don't seem to get the message that we all, in other words, the thing is, we all have problems getting lifeguards. And of course, I think the other thing that sometimes is missed, when you get a lot of lifeguards, you need something called a manager at every pool, managers. So that's even more difficult to get. So that'll be one of the things that they have to see is, can they realistically open the pools? Now, the thing that will not go over with you and with some residents in Oakland Mills is the pools that Dan is recommending, and I'll just get it right out there, is Dasher Green and Faulkner Ridge. Well, in terms of Faulkner Ridge, what I asked Lakey to do, I said, look, what we need is sort of a reminder email or memo to everyone, to the public at large, that reminds everybody about what were the factors in the decision that CA made to open those 15 pools. For example, one of the key ones was to allow for the neighborhood swim teams to exist. So you had to have a certain number of lanes. If you don't have that, that pool wasn't accepted. Attendance was another thing. You had to have certain attendance. The other one was to have at least one pool in every village. Well, you don't have a pool. You have no pools in Town Center because they don't have a pool. So Town Center is very dependent on Wild Lake. Well, Wild Lake is only gotten one pool opened. So this would give Wild Lake a second pool. Out of the 3, it would give them a second one. We have 2 pools open already. So it would give Wild Lake the second. And that's, would be used by Town Center. So you're talking about 2 villages have 1 pool now to use, Running Brook. They would now have 2 pools. So that needs to be understood as to whether you think that's fair or not. The other is Dasher Green. If you look at each village, if they can, should have 2 pools. Well, Dasher Green, we only opened 1, Hopewell. Dasher Green pool did not open. So they're suggesting that that be open, which from what I had heard from some residents, that may be helpful to Oakland Mills since it's close. Whether people will agree with that or not, I don't know. But that's what's being suggested. And also there was, higher attendance at that pool. So if you can open, Dan feels that is recommending that it should be Dasher Green and Faulkner Ridge to start with the understanding that we could do it economically, but will we have enough lifeguards and village managers? We can also meet the criteria for COVID restrictions because we don't have that problem with the pools. So it's just the issue of staffing that remains. And I know Oakland Mills is not going to be happy about that. But I think what needs to come across is Town Center has no pools. Dorsey Search has only 1 pool. River Hill only has 1 pool. And we had opened 2 pools out of 3. So it's a matter of, that's about it. We'll see what happens and whether it's realistic and whether it can actually be done or not. Do you have questions on that? I'm sorry, Jonathan?
I have a comment on that, Ginny. And actually, I was looking for the social media post, and it looks like maybe someone at CA Wisely took it down. But my comment was going to be when
What post? What do you mean?
it was a Facebook post about the pools from CA basically saying we may have enough money to open 2 more pools, but that's all it said. And of course, that basically starts the feeding frenzy and the competition among all the communities that want their pool open. Why doesn't CA just come out and say, we're considering a recommendation to open Faulkner Ridge and Dasher Green, so that you don't, create all this false hope in other communities, or basically have villages pitted against each other trying to get their pool open. I mean, I think that's a very rational, understandable explanation. And if that were just out there for everyone, I think that's better than something out there saying there may be an opportunity to open 2 more pools, stay tuned, come to the board meeting. Because then all you're going to hear are a bunch of people saying, open my pool, rather than working through the logic of what Dan's recommending.
This was on a CA Facebook page?
It was, and it looks like maybe someone thought better of it and took it down, because I can't find it now. It says the content
It
is.
was there.
It was there.
As a
Was it-
CA post.
Pardon me, what?
It was a CA post on their Facebook page earlier in the week or on the weekend. Yep.
Really? Okay.
And I thought it was kind of like, oh, be careful what you ask for.
I just am shocked, and I will get to the bottom of that. I totally agree with what you just said. I won't make any more comments on it, but I'll find out who did it, and why, and what they hope to accomplish. But no, this is what we are being presented with. And what I asked, though, is that they be clear on how much money we're talking about. It was 508,000, I think, to open the remaining 8 pools. So what are we talking about? I know Town Center thinks that Faulkner Ridge should not be opened. It should be Bryant Woods, which they feel is more attractive, has shade, etc. Of course, it does not meet the requirement for the neighborhood swim team. So that's the response of Town Center, at least the Town Center CA rep. But they would be happy to just have 2 pools for the 2 villages. So, okay. And just more of an explanation about exactly how much we're getting in terms of this 50% is over the 5-year period of it's about, I think, $1 million something, which is over a 5-year period, though. So we're not getting that right away. And then what will happen with the remaining part of the Haven is still, in some ways, it's good. It's still up for grabs, or up for discussion. So
Jenny?
That's about it. Yeah, Rebecca.
On pools, but a little different. What are the numbers? How many people are using the reservation time and stuff? We have been frustrated several times already because the pool is open from 3:30 until 5 for free swim. And so we go over there after work at 4:30, 5 o'clock, and then they close at 5 for a half hour until the reservation time starts at 5:30. So even if we made a reservation for 5:30, we'd have to sit outside the pool for a half hour waiting until that time starts. Are there numbers? Are people actually using the reservation system?
I don't know, but I could certainly find out tomorrow and let you know. But you're saying it's 3:30 to 5 is free, so it's the 5:30 would be the reservation?
Right. And it seems like looking at the schedule, that's common across most of the pools. There's that half hour of prime after work time that it's totally closed while they switch over.
Okay.
I asked the manager at Stevens Forest why they totally close between 5 and 5:30, and what he told me is that's when they do all the cleaning.
Well, you would assume the cleaning. I don't know why it takes a half hour, but
Yeah.
that was the whole idea, is to clear the pool so you can clean. But I don't know if we're not getting reservations, then.
It's hard to tell because it's just June, but yeah.
Yeah, but also with the rates being low and so many people being vaccinated, maybe, a couple months ago when they made the schedule, we didn't know what it would be like. At this point, maybe we can open it some evenings without any reservations, still having some days for, more cautious times, but I don't know.
to get a balance between somebody that's willing to go, but you keep the social distancing out of the pool and.
Yeah, it seems like every evening, all evening is maybe unnecessary at this point.
Okay, thank you. I don't know the answer. I will find out and I'll get back to you. I'll get back to the whole board. Okay. Anything else? You got any knee-jerk reaction or any reaction to what I just said? Or we're going to be discussing it more on Thursday. If there's enough money for only 2 right now, and if we cannot get more money from the county, which really upsets me, to put it mildly, but it for a lot of things, you can't keep kicking this down the road. I mean, if you're going to, you've got to start making a decision so that you could start trying to hire lifeguards or forget it. I mean, so my feeling is start opening whatever you can open, I'll be honest with you, and see if you can get the lifeguards. And as you get the money, you open another one and see if you can get the lifeguards. Because I think it's going to be more lifeguards than, I think the restrictions, my hope is, will go away, quite frankly. So if you disagree with that, let me know.
You know, it would be nice if this might continue through the summer. It might be nice if, you know, the CA staff and the board just work together to put basically a priority list for opening. You know, like this, if we can open additional pools, this is the order we've decided they'll open. So you don't have to keep revisiting this and stirring things up and disappointing people. You know, you'll either make people happy once or you'll disappoint them once, depending on whether their pool's at the top of the list or the bottom, but at least it's done.
Yeah. Okay.
And I mean, believe it or not, it's getting late enough in the season that, you know, why bother keep revisiting it? We're already heading into mid-June. So with the time you have to take to revisit this each time, it's just more time lost waiting for the next board meeting before potentially another pool could open, versus if you just had a list of, you know, closed pools and decided in advance, this is the order you'll open them, as long as the staff can, you know, has the money for it and can find the lifeguards.
Well, Jonathan, if you actually read my amendment or resolution, whatever you want to call it, to the budget in February, that was the intent. There seems to be disagreement about what it means to inform the CA board. So since this just came up and it's June 10th, that's not too bad. But you're absolutely right. If they were to need 2 weeks, that would be, you know, just forget it. Because you need to hire, but you also need to train the lifeguards in most cases. So you're not going to open anymore if we don't get this resolved. I agree with you, and we're going to see. I will be pushing for that, because that's what I thought my resolution did. Quite frankly, is just, you got the money, you don't have the COVID restrictions, and you can. Oh, and you got the staff. Go for it. Get things moving. So I'm not too happy that they're interpreting it differently. It will not be a vote of the CA board. I don't want to misrepresent that. It'll be inform the CA board is the way they interpret it. So there are other ways to inform us, I think, in the future. Thank you. But if you have any other concerns, I'll check the reservations, not just at Thunder Hill. I'll check them also at Stevens Forest and then other places. Okay. Anything else that you have a concern about that you want me to work on?
No, just one more thing I want to add to the beginning of the conversation about the bill, the pre-filed bill that was you know, temporarily withdrawn. First, I want to say thank you via Ashley to Dr. Jones and his staff, because Sandy got that. I've lost track of days. I think, was it last Thursday morning? Whenever it was.
Thursday.
Sandy got that, immediately reached out, and Michael Harris immediately came back and said, can you meet basically in 3 hours? And unfortunately, I couldn't make it because I was doing that day job thing I have to do, but Bill and Sandy were able to attend. And this was actually before, I believe, he met with Lakey. And Sandy with Bill, did a nice job basically walking through not only how Oakland Mills Village works, but how the other villages work and how CA works. And following that, I think they had the phone call with Lakey, and I really think it was very helpful. I appreciate that they responded so quickly and were willing to sit down and meet. And it sounds like it sounds like this could be a lot better in the fall, because there will be more time taken to sit down, not just with CA, but with the villages. It sounds like they want to meet with all 10 villages and CA.
Yeah.
So, I appreciate that that Dr. Jones and his staff responded so quickly and met with everyone.
It's good,
I
yeah.
appreciate that Sandy and Bill, took the time and basically walked them through, how we operate as HOAs versus some of these smaller ones that don't have, professional staff and, public open meetings and things of that nature.
Well, in reading it though, I think it could be a real burden for the small HOAs as well, but I guess we'll see. But no, I am glad they sent it out, because it could have been a very awkward situation at a public hearing that nobody wants to go through. So that was good.
Bill?
And real quick, let me give credit where credit is due. Sandy was the impetus behind hopping on this immediately, and it was well done, Sandy.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you all. I'll definitely take that feedback back to Dr. Jones.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank
Okay,
you very much,
thanks,
Ginny.
guys. I'm going to head out. Thank you.
All right. Enjoy the family.
Okay.
Enjoy your crab cakes.
And we're working on Orchard Green Path too, okay?
Okay.
I'll come by tomorrow for your leftovers, Ginny.
Okay.
I'm closer. I can beat her to you.
Oh,
All right, so now we're going to go back to the new business, and the next item we have is discussion of OMCA priorities for the Columbia Association Board. And Sandy and Amy, I don't believe we have like a draft document for this yet, right? This is the opening of that discussion.
Yeah, because Ginny had asked us to come up with like a few topics, so it's there.
Well, the ice rink. We always have the ice rink, right?
Yeah.
I'm just throwing things out there.
I think we always talk about, oh, I'm not muted, village and CA communications, and so much if it has to do with the allocation they give us for the assessment share. And it keeps being put on a back burner or when it's discussed, it's 10 o'clock at night at a CA meeting. I hear some background noise from somewhere. But anyway, I think that possibly one of the issues is the CA Village assessment share and management contract. Do you hear that noise too, Jonathan?
Yeah, there's feedback somewhere. I
Yeah.
muted me, so I know it, well, at least not all of it is me, but I can't tell where it's coming from.
Anyway, that's one of my things. Unless that's something that the boards just do with CA and it's not on behalf of a village.
No, I think just, generally, I don't want to call it improving, because that indicates that, things aren't good and you don't want to start off on a negative with the new president and everything, but maybe, I'm trying to think of a good way of saying this. Maybe, I don't know, examining or reviewing or something, the relationship between CA and the villages. I don't know exactly how to put it, but I'm trying to get at what you're saying without sounding sour grapes, because the villages were accused by the past president of acting like children, and I don't want us to sound like children. I want us to sound like we want to be partners. Maybe that's it. Just, CA board and village board partnerships, or CA and village partnership, something
Sounds
like
good.
that.
Okay. How about from Oakland Mills? I mean, we always talk about, and I don't know, Milton Matthews, who's not here, was going to work on our village center area, enhancing and the viability of the center. That never happened. I don't know if that's something we want to pursue more with the county or with CA.
I mean, you know, sort of going back to what the Patterson said about the 4th of July, I think let's expand beyond the village center. I would like to see just do more promotion of its communities generally.
Right.
You know, CA is very good about promoting CA stuff, but
Yeah.
they're not so good about promoting
Villages.
what's unique about the villages or what's going on in the villages.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Do we need to put Orchard Green Tot Lot bike path on there?
Sure. Orchard Green Path, not the tot lot, right?
Oh, yeah.
So we'll bring this back again so people have time to think as old business.
Yeah. I mean, if anyone else has ideas, feel free to throw them out now, but
This is our priorities for CA to handle or to do something about.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
or to work with us on.
Yeah.
I mean,
just
it was
like our
asked
county
for by,
priorities.
it was asked for by Ginny, so I'm not sure where it goes. Like from there, because it wasn't like from the CA president to us or anything.
Mm.
Yeah, we're gonna do the county priorities in old business because we have that list draft. Yeah, there's bad feedback tonight. I don't know where it's coming from, but we have that list drafted.
That's separate.
Right,
But it's like that, but not for the county, for CA.
Right.
right. All right, well, let's move on to old business. So at the last meeting, we talked about the, Warren, it might be, the feedback might be coming from you because when I was talking, the highlight went around you. But I can't tell. Now,
Maybe
now
it's
there's nothing.
maybe it's the cicadas. I can.
Let's see what that does. All right, so
But then
far
he
so
can't talk.
good. All right, so so the first item on old business is the vacant board seat. We decided at the last meeting under new business that we are interested in filling the vacant board seat and that we're likely interested in following the same process we followed for the past several vacancies going back several years. I believe we had 2 tentative volunteers to join the 3-person committee should we get more than 2 applicants interested. And was that Bill and Lynn?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So tonight we have to confirm that we're going to use our usual selection process, which starts with Sandy, putting out a request for statements of interest, followed by do we normally do a 2-week window to submit statements of interest?
That would be good.
Okay, 2-week window to submit statements of interest. And then what we do is we have the subcommittee, normally of 3 people, so that we have an odd number because they might have to vote. Have a subcommittee of 3 people meet with the applicants, should we get more than 2, to narrow that down to 2 to present to the board. And then at a future board meeting, those 2 finalists would meet with the board, either just before the board meeting or at a separate meeting. And then the board at a future meeting as business would have a secret ballot vote to select the new member for the 7th vacant board seat. So that's basically the process. And we need 2 things tonight. One, we need to determine if we're going to follow that process. And if we do determine we're going to follow that process, in case we need the subcommittee so we can move quickly, we would also need a 3rd volunteer for the subcommittee, assuming that we're okay with Bill and Lynn being the first 2 volunteers to the subcommittee. So is there any discussion on the process?
I move that we go ahead with the process.
Okay.
Second,
Second. All right. Any further discussion there? All in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 0, 0. Okay, now that we have the process, we have so far Bill and Ginny nominated to serve on the subcommittee. Is there anyone else interested?
Jonathan, I think you said Bill and Ginny.
Bill and Lynn? I don't know what I'm doing. I had a commute to DC today. I'm all screwed up.
Rebecca has her hand raised.
Rebecca, are you volunteering?
Yeah, I volunteered the first time around.
Oh, you did? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's all
All
right. You
So
forgot
it's-
me already. I go to Belize
No.
for 1 week.
Well, you know what? You volunteered from long distance. It still hasn't gotten to me. All right, so we have Lynn, we have Bill, we have Rebecca on the subcommittee. Is everyone okay with that? All right, I don't think we need to vote that because we already voted the process and now we just need the subcommittee to fit under the process. So it'll be Lynn, Bill, and Rebecca if you're needed. Thank you. So in 2 weeks after Sandy posts the request for statements of interest, she'll let you know whether you're needed, and then you'll have to identify a time within a reasonable amount of time that you're available to meet with any candidates, and then you'll make the recommendation to the board of the 2 finalists. If by chance we have fewer than 3 or more candidates, basically 2 or fewer, 2 or 1, then those candidates would just come before the board. We wouldn't need the subcommittee, just for the record. All right, that was easy. All right, now I am going to attempt to share screens. No, I
The
can't.
latest one.
It's disabled.
Jonathan, because I didn't allow you yet. Do you have the latest one?
I'm using the one that's in Amy's board packet email. Is there a later
Okay, so
one?
that's the latest one. Yeah.
Wait, so did we just, are we gonna start advertising the vacancy? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, that was the right one?
That's the last one. And when it's all done, it'll be a better cleaned up version.
Well, now you made me panic and close it because I thought I had the wrong one open. Okay, let me.
No, I just want to make sure.
All right. All right, hopefully everyone can see my screen. So, first of all, thank you everyone for writing in. So this is our list. Actually, I thought we weren't going to do short, medium, and long term anymore, or did we not really decide on that?
All we have here is short term.
Oh, maybe that's why. We probably did away with the other designations, so everything's short term now. So it's probably not necessary to say short term. So,
Okay.
so we have the potential redevelopment of the Rona apartments because the 10-year financing is going to be up in 2023. We have the Howard County School System capital investment in the Oakland Mills Middle and Oakland Mills High school buildings. I'd like to recommend that we just, instead of deteriorating school buildings, we just say the names of the schools right up front so that anyone going for the quick read knows what we're talking about.
Okay.
Because let's face it, they're happy to invest in other deteriorating school buildings throughout the county, just not ours. So let's
Okay,
name
so
ours
the
in the title.
deteriorating condition of Oakland Mills High School and Oakland Mills Middle School.
Or just capital investment in Oakland Mills Middle and Oakland Mills High.
Oh, okay.
Okay, next is the streetscape from Santiago and Camelback north to Stevens Forest and Whiteacre. Basically do a streetscape that connects the existing streetscape to the other side of the village center along Stevens Forest Road.
Jonathan, can you move it
Scrolling,
off
are
the
you
screen?
scrolling down?
I am scrolling, yes.
I'm not.
Yeah, we're not
seeing
doing
it. Yeah, I'm stuck on short-term Verona apartments.
Oh. Did it reset?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So there's our streetscape. And I think this is supposed to be indented as part of the streetscape. Or,
Amy will fix it, right, Amy? My editor. I couldn't tell what I was supposed to indent or not, but Amy will be able to.
Yeah.
okay. So these are the pedestrian improvements at Stevens Forest and Whiteacre. And then Stevens Forest and Robert Oliver, so this should also be inset under the streetscape. And then Santiago and Camelback. So I believe what 1, 2, and 3 are sub items to the streetscape. So we want the streetscape, but we also want to make sure these 3 things are addressed.
Could we call them 3A, 3B, and 3C?
That makes more sense, yes.
Easier, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's our median and bike lane safety and maintenance, leaf vacuum. Wow, this is loaded.
Yeah, because we did talk a lot about the curbs and the cul-de-sacs, so I wanted to make sure that, and there's a little bullet, so we had to put that there.
I think, oh, this is another one that needs like a 4A and a 4B.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Yeah, there's a lot in there.
I don't think curbs and cul-de-sacs are really safety. That's more appearance. I think
Mhm.
I think the cleaning the leaves and the gumballs out of where they don't belong is a safety issue. Curbs and cul-de-sac maintenance are appearance issues. They're not really safety issues.
Curbs are safety issues for people who are walking, for pedestrians.
Well, I think what Lynn was talking about though were the curbs around the cul-de-sac circles, not the curbs next to the sidewalks, right? It was
Yeah.
basically the cul-de-sacs.
Okay, so
I don't
take
even know why
that curb away.
Curbs of the cul-de-sac.
I think we should just say cul-de-sac islands, the whole thing, the curb and the dirt between the curbs.
And that's a different, is that where does that come? If you scroll down again, yeah, it's not part of street safety.
No,
I think that, but median strip and bike lane safety isn't that covered under the number 3?
I think 4 needs to be, no, I think 4 needs to be redone. Just entirely redone is 2 different
Yeah.
topics. I think
Oh yeah, I guess median strip and bike lane safety is separate from number 3 is street safety.
no, number
Specifically-
3 is the streetscape.
Not just the streetscape, Jonathan, it has to do with the safety parts of the
Right.
roadway. That's exactly what we sent to the county in the sense that
Right, but it's one, but
you
it's
can't wait for 5 years for a streetscape to make the road safer.
So
specifically
in
on
that
Stevens
case,
Forest.
my-
whereas-
my comment on 3 and 4 is this is a confusing mess.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how anyone with the county could figure out what the priority is and act on it the way it is right now. So I think we need to figure out what really is our priority, because everything can't be a priority. Or we go back to short-term, longer term. So I would say if we're talking about street safety, the short term is fix the 4-way stop and fix those crosswalks immediately. Longer term, do the whole streetscape.
But I don't think also, I think that with some of it, we don't really need to be talking about having benches and that sort of thing. I think that can be all compressed into, what happens with the pedestrian crossing, compressed into a few sentences.
Yeah, I think just saying how important that's the heart of our village, and it needs safety and aesthetic attention, for
Yeah.
both safety and aesthetic reasons.
Can I give another suggestion? And I know this might delay things to another meeting, but Given the response we've gotten so far, every time we go through this exercise, which is basically no response until we ask, and then when we ask, the response is, we haven't done anything. Why don't we just send them like a very succinct bulleted list of things and say, for more details and for follow-up, you are invited to attend or send a representative to attend a meeting where we can discuss these in more detail. Because we spend a lot of time worrying over the detail in this thing, and then it basically, in my opinion, gets filed away until we ask about it, and then there's like a hastily written response that basically says nothing's happened. I mean, that's been the experience for the past 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think all of those bullet points under pedestrian crossing can be eliminated. That could be something that we could talk about if we met with people, because we're kind of giving our reasons for saying this is important. And I think that it's pretty clear. It's pretty self-evident once you.
No, I'm talking even more simple than that. I mean, literally a bulleted list with just the headers and not a bunch of detail. Like, here's what Oakland Mills wants, very short, very sweet, period. Now come back and talk to us about it.
Right. This
Read
is
all
more
these
like,
details for
I
page
agree.
after page after page.
This is more like testimony, and they just want a list.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, this is like, 5 pages of stuff. And
But
I
they
think we
can read
could,
it anyway.
yeah, I mean, I think we could say very succinctly, start planning for the redevelopment of Verona with extensive community development. Address the lack of capital investment in Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle School. Make immediate improvements to the 4-way stop sign and the crosswalks along Stevens Forest Road, next to the Village Center. Complete in the longer term, complete the streetscape on Stevens Forest Road next to the Village Center. Clean up, provide appropriate services to clean, slippery leaves, gumballs, other debris from bike lanes and medians. Consider county takeover of maintenance of cul-de-sacs that are currently maintained by residents. Boom. Why give all those details now? Let them come back and ask what we mean. But I think it's pretty clear what we mean if we just say it very succinctly like that. This is what we want.
I agree. And also none of it is really new.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for most of these, if anyone asks, we can say, well, refer back to the things we submitted the past 3 years that never got done. All the details in there already.
Right. Or come to a meeting.
Yeah,
I agree, Jonathan.
yeah,
You get really lost in the weeds when you read through all this.
yeah. That's. I mean, unfortunately, I've had a crazy week at work, so this is the first time I'm like looking at it, live,
Mhm.
and I mean, I'm just getting lost trying to walk us through it, and I don't see anyone really taking the time to read this.
Sounds good to me.
Yep, I agree.
All right, Sandy and Amy, do you think you can whittle it down and
Yeah.
circulate it? However, what we could do to expedite this is if we agree that what's on here is the list of priorities, then we could vote that as our list of priorities tonight. And then all Sandy and Amy have to do is, take it down to that succinct bulleted list, circulate it via email so that we can confirm that we don't feel it changed any of the content or intent, and then we can send it off without having to wait for another meeting.
I move we proceed in that way, exactly.
Okay,
I second.
all right. Is there any discussion? Any discussion from anyone? I'm gonna have to stop sharing because I can't see everyone when I'm sharing. I'm a little bit lost here. Warren? I think Warren was trying to talk.
Yeah, I was wondering if we should split up the streetscape from the safety issues, make that 2 different bullets.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, that's what I was, yeah, that's what I was suggesting when I rattled them off, yeah.
Right.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, I think the safety should be like, immediate safety improvements, and then the streetscape should be, and in the longer term, complete the streetscape so that these temporary improvements are just temporary.
They
So that
haven't
we have a couple
completed
days
it. They
tomorrow.
haven't, well, I guess they have to.
Yeah, we
complete
just
it.
don't want them to think that when they do the safety improvements, that gets them off the hook and they can kick the streetscape another 10 years down the road.
Right.
Okay.
Okay,
right.
so I'm happy with it then.
Okay. So we did have a motion, right? And we had a second. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Rebecca, you're kind of in the dark there. I can.
Oh, it did get dark.
There we go. Okay, 6, 600.
Rebecca was in her stealth mode.
All right. Oh, I need to go back to this other screen. I have too many screens. You know, Zoom is nice, but I kind of miss getting lost in all my papers instead of lost on my screens. It's just a different experience. I'm going to get lost either way, but at least with the papers, I can shuffle them around and it looks like I'm doing something important versus you just seeing my eyes dart around trying to figure out what I am again. All right, so that was, so that closes the old business. All right. Board, we're getting the feedback again. Board chair report. A couple of things. Well, number one, I was going to thank Bill and Sandy for meeting with Dr. Jones's office and thank Dr. Jones and his staff for that. But I took care of that during Ginny's piece, so that knocks out one of my things. If you all have been glancing at your emails over the past couple of days, I invited 3 key members of the Board of Education to our July 13th board meeting. So that is Antonio Watts, who is elected by District 2, which is where all of Oakland Mills Village is. Jolene Mosley, who is elected by District 3, which is the other district that has a substantial population attending both Oakland Mills Middle School and Oakland Mills High. And Jen Mallow, who is the current Oakland Mills and Atholton cluster rep. And my reason for inviting them was to talk about the continued deferral of investment in our Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle campus. I sent them an email highlighting some of the concerns. And I highlighted beyond just the deferred capital investment. I also talked about just some of the exterior stuff that we've been talking about. And I actually had a little conversation with Jolene Mosley and I said, look, we don't have covenant authority over the school buildings, but if we did, we could send you a long list of violations. I mean, you've got, you have busted out broken lights towering over the Oakland Mills Middle basketball courts for as long as I've lived here. You have that awful hill behind the high school. You have, benches that are missing bricks. You have, there's something between Oakland Mills Middle and Oakland Mills High that looks like maybe it used to be some kind of a garden or something, but the kids there have interesting names for it. No one knows exactly what it is. I mean, there are things that can be done that don't take a ton of money. So, we're going to have them in to talk about that. I've reached out to our partners in Oakland Mills United and let them know we were doing this, and they are going to promote the event and, try to get, their members out, because obviously they have, they have direct connections to the high school, the middle school, and even the elementary schools. They have, liaisons with each school. And what I'm encouraging Sam to do is see if he can get maybe some students from Oakland Mills Middle and Oakland Mills High to speak out about, firsthand experience. What are conditions like in their school versus some of the other schools in the county that have been taken care of? What are they lacking that other schools have? I mean, we know things too, right? We just bought a bunch of TVs for Oakland Mills Middle because they were still using the same technology that I was using when I was in middle school, and that was when Duran was popular. So this Amy got that one. Now Amy can figure out how old I am. So, to their credit, they all accepted within a couple of hours. They accepted the invitation. So, we'll have them here on the 13th, and hopefully this will be well enough promoted that we get a decent crowd here showing interest in what's happening with the schools. And You know, Sandy and I will work on the agenda, but I think we'll give ample time to this, probably at least a half hour, because I would like to, I would like to hear what they have to say about the situation, and I'd like to hear, what they want to do about the situation. Jolene did actually initially vote against the capital budget because it didn't include Oakland Mills High, but then she ultimately, in the final form, voted for it, and she explained the rationale to me, and it was basically that if the Board of Education doesn't show a united front on the capital budget, then there's a chance they won't get even what they're asking for, which is, I guess I kind of get it, but I don't. But one of the things I said to her was, well, we may find, someday that, instead of the Oakland Mills Community Association going in and testifying for what we need, we might just go into the county or the state and testify against the capital budget. Don't give them this capital budget because the priorities are all wrong. And that would be an interesting take, because usually people just go in asking for more. We could go in and say, no, we don't think the school system needs that if this is how they're going to spend it. So I'm hoping it'll be an interesting and productive conversation. With that said, here's the latest status. If you go to the school system website and look at the capital budget and the long-term improvement plan that got approved, obviously the funding for Talbot Springs continues because that's already there. I mean, you can see a building there now. It's kind of neat. Oakland Mills Middle is still on the list for a renovation and expansion with an expected move-in of, I think, something like 2030. Oakland Mills High is not on the list. High School 14 is on the list. Centennial is on the list. Oakland Mills High is not on the list. Oakland Mills High was built in 1973. Centennial was built in 1976. Hammond was built, I think, in 1976, but Oakland Mills is not on the list. Now, the other interesting thing that came out is the annual feasibility report came out, and that usually only gets attention in years where there's going to be a redistricting. So I think this one sort of came out quietly and no one's paying attention. But the feasibility report is about a lot more than redistricting. It also talks about what the school system could or should look like from a capital perspective. So that's where the Office of School Planning staff makes recommendations about where they should be adding seats and to what buildings. The good news is they're now finally acknowledging that, hey, the East is overcrowded and Oakland Mills High is in the East, so maybe we should add seats to that. And that could be a good thing because usually these projects require capacity to get funded. So if you're going to add capacity to Oakland Mills, maybe you could get a renovation along with it. Although I will point out that's not what happened in 2004. They threw the addition on the back, they threw the porticos on the front, and they left the rest of the building as it was. So there's no guarantees, but at least it's better than we're not going to add anything to Oakland Mills because maybe it gets us back in the conversation in the future. On the bad side, they're now saying Oakland Mills Middle needs renovations, that's for sure, but it doesn't need seats. We should put those seats over at Thomas Viaduct because that's where there's a lot of growth. Thomas Viaduct is a new school. So if you're adding seats to Thomas Viaduct and you're not adding seats to Oakland Mills and you continue to prioritize your investment in the buildings based on adding capacity, it really doesn't matter that school planning says, oh, but Oakland Mills Middle still needs renovation. If they're not adding seats, I could see Oakland Mills falling off the list the same way Oakland Mills High fell off the list because they don't get any capacity by fixing up the school. It's, they still have the same number of seats, so why bother with it? So I think these are all things that we need to be aware of, and also things we need to discuss. And the other thing I think we really need to do is, really start talking to friends and neighbors and everything about the situation, because I don't know how many people realize it. I don't know how many people understand. I'm sure there are people out there who see Talbot Springs going up and they say, oh, great, the school system's building something new in Oakland Mills. They're treating us well. And they have no idea what's going on at the middle school and high school. And I think the thing we have to drive home is Talbot Springs is getting rebuilt because Talbot Springs wasn't touched since 1973. Same as Oakland Mills Middle, same as Oakland Mills High. They're all in the same boat. And one of them just got so bad that they're rebuilding it, but they're also adding capacity, and that's how it's getting rebuilt. It's not because they're being nice to Oakland Mills, it's because they need seats, and Talbot Springs is a place they could put seats. So like I said, I think we need to spread the word more through the community. I have talked to Oakland Mills United. They're going to spread the word as it gets closer. I've talked to Oakland Mills Online. They're going to spread the word as it gets closer. But like I said, I think, I'm asking that we all do what we can to spread the word as well. Because, on the one hand, while it's great that Oakland Mills was half of the testimony at recent county council and Board of Education meetings, it's not great that it was only 2 of us. If it could have been 30 out of 32 people signed up to testify yelling about Oakland Mills rather than 2 out of 4, that would have been even better. So, I think we should see what we can do about that, because it certainly worked in other circumstances, and one very locally was Talbot Springs. The community was very loud about Talbot Springs, and despite all the attempts to make Talbot Springs not happen in new and creative ways, it happened. We kept at it and it happened. Bill.
Real quick, Jonathan, when we have the school board members in, are we looking at this as kind of a beginning of a dialogue with them and begin to put together the issues, the needs, et cetera? Or is this going to be more a focused, here's our priorities, this is what we want kind of a focus? And that's my question. Then, depending on the answer, I think then we would need to put together a game plan overall of progression of meetings, et cetera, how we're going to get what we want.
So here's my thought. The school system is required to provide an education to any resident of Howard County of school age who wants a public education. The where is not a requirement. So what I would like to ask them is, if you have existing buildings and you have existing land, why are you going for new and neglecting the old when it's more cost effective to invest in the old, to provide, equitable experiences throughout the system? And look, if people are choosing to, buy in new developments where the houses are on top of each other and they're not planned, then ride a bus to one of the existing schools. I'm sorry, but why is the school system basically punishing, a well-planned community that has adequate infrastructure, because we didn't let the growth here get completely out of control to the point that we need, 500 new seats in every building. It just doesn't make any sense to me, because basically all the school system was doing, whether you're pro-developer, anti-developer, whatever, all the school system is doing really is rewarding that behavior. All right, you're going to build a bunch of stuff out at Turf Valley. We'll do a new Turf Valley Elementary School. You're going to keep building in Elk Ridge. All right, we'll take part of Rockburn Park and we'll do High School 14. Oh, there's been no development in Oakland Mills for years. We'll just keep deferring Oakland Mills High School till it falls down. Why? Renovate the thing, put a second story on it if you have to, add 700, 800 seats, whatever you have to do, and use what you have. This to me is, in addition to being completely inequitable, it's just illogical to me to keep acquiring land and building a bunch of buildings while you let the ones you have fall further and further into disrepair, to the point where, as we've discussed at Oakland Mills High, the deferred maintenance costs more than a new school.
Jonathan, it's the new communities that make the money for the county.
I know.
Jonathan, with this, as I look ahead, my thought is, maybe from the school board members' point of view, is why are they having us here? What's their purpose of having us in, et cetera? And I'm looking at kind of what is our game plan. Is this first meeting to kind of air out issues, and then with that we put together priorities. Then we have them in for another meeting X number of months down the road, or a month or two down the road. Here's priorities based on the first meeting, et cetera. And then here's when we're going to get to the end game, the bottom line. Here's what we want. Here's how we see it happening. My concern is yours is that we've got nothing. Okay. Yeah. We've gotten the back of the hand. And as I said in emails to the board members that Wild Lake, the first village on the west side, has a new high school and a new middle school. Oakland Mills, the first village on the east side, has the original equipment and neglect. And what's wrong with that picture? And I'm looking at all the logic in everything the education committee has done, and it hasn't moved the powers that be. What do we do differently or in addition now to move the powers that be? And what's that game plan to get to our end result, which would be at a minimum enhancing the existing buildings, whether it's tear down everything inside and leave the shell like we did at Thunderhill and Stevens Forest and put all new inside, or do new buildings from ground up like in Wild Lake. My concern is if we don't have a very well defined game plan and end result, we might not. What we might wind up with is, hey, here's 10 million. I'm sorry, I thought she was talking to me. We might wind up with them saying, well, okay, look, just get them off our tail. We have 10 million to go put in new HVAC. There, we did something for them, forget it. That's my concern, okay? And I think we need a lot of resident participation, a real big game plan, lots of voices, et cetera, and almost to do their homework for them, show them how they're better off taking care of the middle school and the high school, then keep buying new land, et cetera. So I know I'm a little long-winded. My concern is that we'll get the back of the hand unless we're really well organized and have a very, very well-defined end goal.
So I think we should reiterate what we've been saying. I don't necessarily think we should be saying we want new buildings, because we're not the ones to judge whether those buildings are salvageable, right? So I think, what we should continue to say is we want full systemic renovations to those buildings, to include, basically, modern features on par with the new buildings they've opened in the system. And if that's not feasible, new buildings, right? If you bring in an engineer and the engineer says it's not worth it to do a full systemic renovation on this building, then you don't say, okay, we'll just leave it as is. That's when you start making plans for building the new building and knocking down the old one. I actually do think the buildings are probably salvageable. I mean, they're, despite what we say about them, let's face it, they opened in 1973. They're just not that old. But we also know that Talbot Springs got to a point where it actually was more cost effective to knock it down, or well, to build the new one first and then knock it down. We just don't know. I was kind of surprised when they studied it and it did turn out to be more cost effective. I was pleasantly surprised, but I don't think we don't have the expertise to come to that conclusion. What we can say is we want, full systemic renovations. We want facilities, on par with all of the modern facilities in the system. Now find the way to do that. If the renovation will do it, great. If the renovation can't do that, then you don't back down because you can't renovate it. You find a way of providing, an environment to Oakland Mills students that is similar to the environment you're providing to name the newer renovated school. Mount Hebron was knocked down and rebuilt. Wild Lake was knocked down and rebuilt. Howard has been renovated multiple times. You go into Howard, it does not look like an old building. Reservoir is new. You go in there and it looks like a shopping center. River Hill is new. Long Reach is fairly new. You basically have this gap, and it used to be sort of Oakland Mills, Centennial, and Hammond were part of that gap, with Oakland Mills being the oldest. Well, now Hammond is getting done. Centennial's on the list. They're both newer, and you have old Oakland Mills sort of sitting there between the really old schools, Howard and Glen Elg, and the newer schools, and it's kind of like that middle child that's forgotten in all of this.
Yeah, I am concerned that we haven't gotten them to move off the dime. We've got an overwhelming case, but we haven't gotten them to move off the dime. And I'm looking at what do we do differently to get them to come off the dime and make decisions.
Well, I have one suggestion, but I don't know if you'd want to go this far. to be honest, right? They had Oakland Mills High assessed, and it says right in a report that they can no longer provide an environment conducive to learning. Grab the test scores for Oakland Mills High and Oakland Mills Middle and say, so do we have a bunch of parents sue the school system because there's not a conducive learning environment, and this is what's happened to the test scores? I mean, let's face it. I mean, there is cause and effect here, and what's doing it. And having talked to the principals of both schools, the students know, especially the students at Oakland Mills High. I mean, I have been told by administrators and teachers that the students at Oakland Mills High basically say, anyone out there care about us? Why should we give a damn?
And I think there's that emotional part of it that we need to dial into to get them to make a different decision, because all the logic hasn't moved them off the dime.
Yeah.
And that emotional issue, if kids from the high school show up and say, look, our building sucks, period.
Yeah.
And it's brutal to learn there. You got to do something better because we're paying the same taxes everybody else does. And, and I'm not trying to be, I know my personality, I can push a lot, and a little bit of me goes a long way. So please take everything I say in context. I am very disappointed that the county has not treated Oakland Mills properly, in my opinion. And I want to fight for our village, our students, to get what we have earned and deserve, particularly when I compare with Wild Lake Middle and High School, brand new, okay? So I want to do whatever we can. You're the head of the education committee. You deal with education in a fantastic way and much better than I would. So take everything I say in context, but if you want an attack dog, I'm it, baby.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I mean, the other thing I think we should bring up again are the demographics of the school. Is it just coincidence that, the high school and the middle school with the highest proportion of lower income students, the highest proportion of Latinx students, the highest proportion of Black African American students are the ones that get forgotten? Is it any coincidence that these schools are not over capacity like all their neighbors because you won't redistrict anyone into them, right? Howard is completely overflowing. They're screaming about how dangerous it is until you tell them they have to come to Oakland Mills, and then suddenly Howard's not so dangerous anymore. We'll stay out there in those trailers, no problem at all. So what happens? You don't fill up our schools. They don't need capacity. You don't renovate them, and it goes on and on. And quite frankly, and I said this to a member of the Board of Education, picture Oakland Mills as a 60-year-old school without a systemic renovation, because it's not in the long-term plan, which means it'll be 60, right? If things hold true, it'll be 60 before there's any talk of a renovation. Now, we're critical of people who don't want to send their kids to Oakland Mills because we know what kind of education it gives. But realistically, forget the demographics, forget everything else that people judge it about. If there was a redistricting coming up and your choice were to remain or get districted to the school that was built in the 2000s, or the school that was renovated in the 2000s, or the school that's been sitting there, as is since 1973 with all the antiquated technology and everything else, would you say, well, yeah, I pay the same tax dollars as everyone else. I'll take the ancient school that hasn't been renovated. I mean, there are going to be longer term consequences, not just for the students who are in the school, but for what the school system is going to be able to do as it continues to have to adjust over time, because the demographics, the population of the county is going to continue to change and shift. And, when you have basically one more and more rundown building surrounded by newer or renovated, right? Because Howard's been renovated, Athelton's been renovated, Long Reach is a newer facility, Hammond's being renovated, High School 13 will be new, High School 14 will be new. There's your east side. What's missing from all that? Oakland Mills, still sitting there as it was in 1973 with a little addition on the back. Lynn?
Yeah, I think I agree with both of you, but in different ways. I think that we certainly have a case, but I don't think that by reiterating all of the things we know that are unfair or not equitable, or which school is older and which school is newer, I think we would not be telling anybody anything that they don't already know. So I think that honing our messages to something that we really are just as with our request to the county, that to hone our message to something that is just the nut of what it is that we want, that and not to tell them how to do it, but to tell them what we want is. We need a school that is safe. We need a school that is healthful. We need a school. An old school is not necessarily a bad school. Some of the finest educational institutions in the nation are quite old, centuries old even, or more than a century old. And so a new building does not a great education make, but we do need a healthy building and we need a safe building. And then challenge them to tell us how they're going to do it, and rather than us telling them what needs to happen. So
Well,
I think otherwise it just gets into, oh, here's Oakland Mills again, poor us, other people have this, we don't. Centennial has it, River Hill has it, we don't, because they know what they've done.
well, I don't necessarily want to call out other buildings, but I do think we need to ask for more than that. Because what they might say is, it is safe and functional, right? Like, if the air conditioning system completely goes down, they'll have to fix it. So it'll continue functioning.
But it did come that it wasn't a safe enough, it was not a safe enough HVAC system for kids to be in there.
No, not conducive to a learning environment.
Well, there you go.
That's different, right? If you're a little too hot or a little too cold, you're still safe, but your learning is affected. That's the problem. But I still want to go further than that, because I don't think Oakland Mills should have to settle for just functional when they're basically building palatial things and renovating to palatial standards elsewhere. I mean, whether you agree with that or not, like, I don't want to say, we'll just be happy if you make it safe and functional.
Oh, but I wasn't saying exactly that, but I mean, we do want state-of-the-art labs for the science department. We want all of that sort of stuff, but rather than giving them a laundry list and comparing us to other schools, I think that there are certain benchmarks of what makes a really good high school, for example. What are, you need, in my day, you needed a really good library with a certain number of books in the library. You need, but now you need, you need computers, you need you need labs. I mean, you certainly need that. Go for what the benchmarks are and how are we going to get there.
Yeah, and I think this is where we really need the student voice to come out, because that's better than we do. But to your point about the age of the building doesn't matter, I agree. That's why I was saying, I don't think it's our place to say renovate it versus knock it down. I mean, Morrill Hall at the University of Maryland has been standing since the 1800s, but I know that when you walk in there, you don't walk into 1800s technology and facilities, right? It's, the outside of the building might still be as it was in the 1800s, but the inside is modern and, has the amenities that students expect and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but I do think we have to be, I actually do think we should, be setting our standards fairly high, be well beyond the safe and functional.
Well, I agree, but that's kind of a baseline. That's where it's totally unacceptable as well.
Right. But, my concern, but my concern with the baseline is, it takes a lot less money to achieve the baseline, right? Well, put a few $1 million into the HVAC system, do a few things here and there. All right, safe and functional.
But
that doesn't cut it.
Are we going on the premise that the county really wants to cheat Oakland Mills? Is that our premise?
I don't think we're going on the premise that they want to. Honestly, I think what we should say is, you know what we're looking for here. The age and the condition of our facilities. Can you explain to us why it's not happening?
Right,
Why
exactly.
are they never a priority, and let them speak to it.
And do you really want a certain number of high school students in Howard County to be embarrassed about the school they attend?
Right, exactly. And then as they get to that list of reasons, then I think we need to be prepared with our follow-up questions or our response. Like if they say, well, we understand, we empathize with you, but the county's grown so much, we just need capacity. But then I think you hit them with, but you already have the buildings in the land, so why aren't you using or expanding the capacity you have?
Yeah.
And then if they say, well, these aren't the areas that are growing, I think then you can respond with, there are people riding buses all over the place.
Yeah, and what you're
people choose to move out west and have long bus rides to school.
Right.
So what's the problem with that in the east?
and what you're talking about is good stewardship. You
Right.
know, and it can be-
Right.
yeah.
Right. But yeah. So to go back, yes, Bill, the game plan was basically, what we're looking for, right? We want full systemic renovations or rebuild if renovation is not cost effective of these two properties. Can you explain to us how they're just not, how one of them is so deprioritized down the list and how the other one is not a priority at all? It's not even on a list. And then see what they say and go from there.
Yep, that can embarrass them, which is what we want.
Yeah, and unfortunately, these are not really the three people I want to embarrass, because I think these are the three people who are probably most concerned about the situation, but they're also the three people who represent us and represent our children because of their positions on the board and how they were elected. So, I feel like it has to start somewhere. And if they're willing to come to our meeting, then great, let's start with them.
Jonathan, I think the Pattersons want to say something.
And David
Smith. Oh, and David and War. Oh, wow. And here I thought this would just be a 10-minute update saying, hey, they're coming on the 13th. All right, I have to go to board members first, so I'll go to Warren and then David and the Pattersons.
I hope the feedback is not bad. We'll see. I was wondering if we wanted to have a big push to get, I would see that Jonathan should have, or someone should present, like Lynn said, our bullets of what we want, some short bullets, and then have them try to respond to that. But I also thought maybe we should really give a push to get the public involved, maybe have them have a question and answer, and maybe a half an hour is not enough time for this, because this is a huge deal for Oakland Mills.
I wish I could get a feel for how many people will come. Sometimes attendance at our meeting surprises me for good or for bad. But yeah, I think we could give more than a half hour. And what I actually plan to do at the next education committee meeting, which will be 2 weeks from today at 6 p.m., was come up with that short list, start working with the education committee on the sort of the plan of attack for the meeting. And that's why I pushed out to July, because I figured all the after school festivities are over with. It gives us about a month to do some planning. It lets me have an education committee meeting in between, since we meet once a month. And then I can report back to the board in 2 weeks on what we discussed at the education committee meeting. In terms of the publicity push, that is why I immediately reached out to Oakland Mills United and Oakland Mills Online, because they have their own audiences and their own channels of communication. They'll be able to, hopefully they'll be able to help bring people out as well.
Do you see maybe allowing questions submitted ahead of time, through email or something, in case people can't attend, that kind of thing, just to try to get more input? Because a lot of people don't like to spend, Zooms in the evening.
Yeah, we could do that. Absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We could do that. What I'm really hoping is that at the very least, some people might sign in at 7 and sign up for their 3 minutes of resident speak out and speak their thoughts, even if they can't stay for the whole board meeting. Mm-hmm. Because I still think looking people in the eyes, even though it's Zoom, looking people in the eyes and hearing what they have to say is more, it has more impact than, reading the email or having the question read back to you by resident X who couldn't attend tonight. So while we want to leave all channels open, I'm hoping we'll just get a lot of people who want to turn out. And even if they don't want to speak, even if we just have a participant list that has 70 people in it when we normally have 10 or 15 people, I think even that would be telling, because I would even point that out, oh, wow, look at us tonight. We have 70 people in the Zoom room. We normally only have 10 people, including the board. And that way those 70 people don't even have to speak, but it raises the awareness that, oh, a lot of people are interested in this. They all vote.
Great.
All right, so I think we had David and the Pattersons and Sylvia next.
My thought was I vividly recall voting for a member of the school board to represent us. And I think that it would be worthwhile finding ways for individuals to make it very clear that we expect them to help us in this regard. Secondly, I am a grandparent of 2 children who are involved in those schools, and I only live here because they live here. And I'm well known as being someone who can be uncomfortably frank. And I know you're laughing because, anyway, I will volunteer as a grandparent and an uncomfortably frank person to help Bill if he ever needs any help, going out and saying exactly what I think and exactly what I expect, and that I'm retired and I have a lot of time and I will do whatever I need to do to make them bloody uncomfortable until they do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Please sign up for Speak Out. Pattersons, did you have a hand raised?
Yes, we did. And it kind of similar goes along with what Warren was saying about kind of the publicity aspect of it. And I think that leveraging our young people in terms of, I know like the Gen Zers and us millennials love things that go viral, right? And so I think that if we can engage outside of the community, in terms of like their kids are using TikTok, they're using YouTube, they're using all of these other forms of social media that I don't even, I'm a really bad millennial. But if there's a way that we can kind of get them together, create a video or create some sort of buzz or topic or something that can extend outside of our community, we've seen a lot how the external pressure from people who are not even, you know, within that community or within that situation can cause change from within for the community that they're looking for. And so I see this as, you know, as Lynn was saying earlier, kind of rephrasing it. You know, we've told them everything that they already know. So how can we do it a little differently? And I think that, you know, engaging with Oakland Mills United, which we just found out about a couple of weeks ago, we think it's awesome. But getting the kids who are passionate about these topics and are passionate about changing, you know, the conditions of their school, to start reaching as far as they can, engaging as many, you know, social media attendants outside of Howard County. And sometimes, like I said, like that can create an external pressure that then will filter down towards, you know, the into a local pressure, you know. And so you have that a little bit more obligation because more eyes are on you and not just the ones that have always been on you, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But that was just something I kind of thought about.
Great, great idea.
I think that's great. Yeah, and that's one of the ways I'm hoping that Oakland Mills United can help us. I mean, I'm you know, I'm admittedly probably not the best person for that. I'm, you know, despite the show I put on here every couple of weeks, I'm actually the analytic introvert who is much more comfortable writing out testimony with a bunch of numbers than doing that stuff. But, you know, I think I've stumbled across a few people who that is their comfort zone, and they're a heck of a lot younger than I am. So I'm really hoping we are able to do that through them and hopefully through others as well. All right, and Sylvia, and then I guess I really do need to move on from my own section of this agenda.
Hi, sorry. I just was thinking very quickly. I like the ideas of what people have shared. I went through Stevens Forest to Oakland Mills High School and graduated in '04, and all of these things have been talked about for decades. Like none of this is new. I was thinking as former educator in the system, using the strategic call to action as part of like the fact base of what we're representing and why we think it's important, because there is something like explicitly within that that says organizational culture and climate are supportive and nurturing and provide a safe and healthy environment for all students and staff. That's not happening in the middle and high school, as Jonathan was saying, based on reports and things that have been done. So I think on top of what other people are saying, just kind of connecting it to documentation and data that the school system has put out is really a good way to challenge them on their choices and actions that they've done thus far. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you very much. Oh, should we go to Brigida? We have to go to Brigida, right?
Hi, I just wanted to say really quickly that I have a son who will be a senior next year at Oakland Mills, and his group of friends is pretty active in the student government. One of his good friends is the SGA president. And I was just asking him if he thought she might be willing to not only be a part of the meeting, but also help to bring some student interest, because my personal opinion is that they always hear from the adults and we come at it from one perspective, but I certainly agree that a student perspective, whether it be past students or current students, expressing what we all are expressing here, but as from a first person perspective, I think would be very, very beneficial. And especially knowing, as we've seen, the quality of when students from Oakland Mills and the schools all speak out, just what amazing things they say and what the points are that they get across. I think that would be the most telling, and maybe would hopefully get a movement started in some way, that a real movement to where we want it to go.
I would love that.
Right.
Yeah, Bill?
Just quick final comment for me. Jonathan, you lead, I'll follow. Number one. Number two, I suggest that Sam and Oakland Mills United work with the current students at Oakland Mills and at high school, and then maybe the principal at the middle and high school, and do a video, a well-produced video where the students talk, where they tour the buildings, where they tour other buildings, school buildings in the county that are much better off. These are just ideas. They'll have a much better way of going about it. But if the students were to produce their own video, their point of view, that might be the emotional kicker that loosens the bucks at the school board. Thanks.
Thanks, Bill. All right, I'm going to move us along. It's late. Oh, we're almost at the end because Ginny already went. Sandy. Sandy, you just muted yourself instead of unmuting yourself. There you
Yeah,
go.
I got it. Let's see, we've hired a new covenant advisor, Michael Vaughn, who is an Oakland Mills resident and has been the chair of the RAC committee for at least 20 years. And he's at a point where he's ready to take this on part-time. So we met today and he's gonna jump right in and get trained in the job. So that's great. He'll be ideal. So I'm very excited about that. This past weekend, we had our shredding truck, which is always appreciated. And the police had a VIN etching and they said it was great. They had 15 cars in like 2 hours, which they said it was great. So next year, we're going to do the shredding on election day and postpone the plant sale till May. And the VIN etching will come back then too. So that was nice. But Brigitte and I decided that sitting outside with cicadas for 3 hours in June wasn't the ideal time to have shredding. So in our camp, Adventures in Camp, there's a big sign because she really needs campers, but they're coming back to Stevens Forest this summer. She doesn't have a lot of campers yet, but she didn't want to miss another summer because she wants that camp to keep going. So she'll be there, and the Village and Howard moved some of their items out. They'll still use the office. And if they want to do anything on Tuesdays or Thursdays, they can have little programs or whatever they want at the other barn. So they're storing some of their chairs and stuff at the Thunderhill Neighborhood Center because that's not being used this summer. So that's all I have to say. All I have to say.
Thank you. Any questions for Sandy? All right. Just make sure if you do paper shredding on the same day as the election that no one has any reason to make a connection between the ballots and the shredding.
Hopefully by next year,
Please.
everyone will vote online.
All right. We'll go to committee reports. Looks like the only thing we have on here is Lynn with architecture.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm really excited that we have our new covenant advisor. Mike has just been wonderful to work with on the RAC, and I know he'll be really great as the covenant advisor for applications for exterior renovations, exterior changes. And just picking up on that, that now that we're fully staffed with our covenant advisors, and we're moving into reduced restrictions on COVID, I think it's time for us to really move forward with what we're supposed to do, which is to periodically review and amend our architectural guidelines. So with that in mind, we're going to pull together a small group, as we did. Some of you who are long on the board will remember that in 2014, 2015, we went through this process. It's a long process and not an easy one. And how we began the last time and how we'll begin this time and see how it's working is to pull together a small group, the covenant advisors, the RAC members, interested residents, and we'll start by going through the guidelines as they exist. And people who have been working with the guidelines all this time can make suggestions and see what needs changing to keep up with current materials and current aesthetic judgments, and also what we know now about environmental impact on stuff that we're doing to our homes and our properties. And we're also going to look again at what the process is for reviewing and approving exterior alteration applications and also dealing with covenant complaints. So we may be suggesting some needed changes in those processes as well. We'll see. But we're just to let you all know that we're going to launch the process.
Can we launch it in the fall like we did last time?
We can. I think we should start by bringing, frankly, I think we should start by bringing a few people together just to see how we want to set it up, because we might want to make changes to how we did it in the past.
Okay.
So, start off with just kind of getting it off the ground. Certainly, we're not going to be doing a whole lot during the summer because people have busy summers.
Yeah, because I just want to get Mike trained first.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think just to kind of, set in motion, just this, this is what we're doing, and this coming board year, this is going to be a focus for the architecture committee of OMCA is to get this launched. We may not even complete it this year, but it's, as I said, it's a long process, but it's time to get it started.
Yeah,
So,
I like the idea of starting sooner rather than later, also because if this really is going to be one of our priorities, if we wait till the fall, we've kind of shunted the whole thing off to the second half of the year. If we
Right.
start now, it can run through our board year, and it might even extend to the next board year, but at least we're showing a commitment to it by this board.
we're moving. Yeah. We're moving ahead. So I'll keep you posted as to the next steps and what we've done and what we'll be doing. So look for some more information about it in the coming board meetings. And that's
Great.
it.
All right. Any other committees have anything that you just didn't have time to get on the agenda? Going once, Rena?
Yeah, I just want to report that myself and Judy, we met last week and we're planning to meet again. And I've already put in a call to Officer DeBronzo for him and I to meet to talk about some things and, you know, start some things. So we're progressing a little.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. I think we have come to the board bulletin part of the agenda. Amy, anything from the office? All right, Sandy?
No.
Okay, Warren?
Yeah, we have a bike lane cleanup in Mellonbrook. Bike lane, Saturday, 2 o'clock at Thunderhill Elementary School. Anybody that wants to come help clean up, come on by.
Great. All right, Lynn?
Nothing more. Thank you.
Okay, Rena?
Nothing else.
Okay, Rebecca?
I'm planning, I just got certified as weed warrior, so I'm planning my first cleanup in Thunderhill the last Sunday in June. We're gonna do a pool and plant, CA calls it. So we're gonna pull out some invasives around Patriot Lane Pond and replace them with some natives. It's gonna be hot and buggy, I'm sure, but the berries should be blooming, so we'll have a snack while we work. My other thing is I loved Bronlyn. I don't think we've met before. She must have left before I came on, but I loved their suggestion. And I wonder if maybe Warren and I can talk about this a little bit from a bike perspective of encouraging people to park at Oakland Mills and bike across the bridge on July 4th, maybe get some extra safety set up so people feel comfortable at nighttime in the dark along the path. But who should I talk to about that, or how can I go about making something like that reality?
I think that for any police, it's probably tough that night to get additional police, but I would talk to Officer DeBronzo and then ask him who to contact if you're looking for safety from the police standpoint.
Well, not necessarily extra police, but rather, I don't know, maybe volunteers to be there with flashlights, or I don't know, maybe the Pattersons have more ideas about how to make that happen. We can connect later and maybe talk about what we need.
Well, I mean, the other good news is, unlike all the other paths, that multi-use path from the village center to the lake it does have street lighting.
Yes.
All the way through. So
that's true.
I think we should, maybe not everyone realizes that, they hear Columbia paths and they think you don't go on those at night, it's dark, they're technically closed at night. Not that one. So maybe we just need to, make sure we're getting the word out that there is an open, well-lit path between the Oakland Mills Village Center and the lake. And it's wide for walkers and bikers.
And I mean, one of the things they do at like baseball games, like at the Nats games, they have bicycle parking with, a safety attendant. So they're worried about getting over to the fireworks and leaving their bike parked. Maybe we could have volunteers that are kind of, bike overseers over there or something like that. I don't know, maybe the best thing would be for me to talk to the Pattersons because they seem to have thought it out a little bit and then regroup. I just wanted to bring it up now since it's the beginning of June and we'll only have one meeting before 4th of July.
You lost me when you talked about this Nats baseball thing. I thought the local teams
I'm not
were
a Nats.
in the
I'm
base
not
box.
saying I'm a Nats fan. I'm just saying I have
I'm
biked
kidding.
to a Nats game.
I've walked to a Nats game, but I didn't realize they did the bike thing at night games.
I think at all. They have like a special storage place.
Oh, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, most places have something like that. We can definitely look at a parklet or something like that. That's just like a policy thing. I bet the planning department would have a whole lot of fun thinking about that. And if not, we can just think about tactical urbanism. There's literally books and manuals about that, and we can figure it out.
I think we're going to be good friends.
Yes,
yeah,
that sounds great.
Yeah, that's when my city planning mind is going all over the place. Anyway.
All right, so I'll send an email if you, Jonathan, I assume you have their contact information.
I am pretty sure I do, but let me make sure. Oh, see, now I can't even, where are my contacts?
Or, well, they can get my information from the website if you
Yeah,
guys
yours,
want to
yours
send me
is
an email.
definitely on the website, but I thought I did have their contact information. I'm sure it's in here somewhere.
Yeah, we'll email you.
Okay,
Good. Sounds good.
I just found another Patterson, not the right one. Also an Oakland Mills resident, though. All right, thanks, Rebecca. Bill?
Yes, I thought our discussion about the schools and the education issues was fantastic because everybody had their say, everybody listened. It was a wide diversity of thoughts and feelings and perspectives. I thought that was fabulous. To me, that's what makes America great. Thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Well, here it is. Patrick, do you still have that Montgomery address or do you have a different address? No? Okay, that's the address I had. So yeah, if you can hit the Oakland Mills website, Rebecca's email address is on there.
Will do.
Thanks. Thank you, Bill. All right, I think I took up enough time with my board chair report and I'm the only thing standing between us and adjourn. So I'm going to say adjourn. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Bye.
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 Yeah,
Talk to
good
you later.
night. Good night.